Hi there. This is Michael Goldstein with the Crushing It with Kitchen Remodeling podcast. And we are so lucky today to have with us Chef Andrew Forlines to talk about all the appliances that might be helpful in a kitchen remodel. And we're going to talk about that just after this.
Are you looking for some fresh ideas to jumpstart your kitchen remodeling business? Welcome to the Crushing It with Kitchen Remodeling podcast. Your host, Michael Goldstein, founder of Kitchen Remodeling SEO, the digital marketing agency working exclusively with kitchen remodeling contractors, and also the author of the Ultimate Internet Marketing Guide for kitchen remodeling contractors, will provide insights on proven tips and strategies from top experts in this space so that you can take advantage of industry best practices. Your host, Michael Goldstein. Join Mike as he shares his knowledge each week with an insightful interview or educational segment about how to turn your online marketing efforts into more kitchen remodeling leads and sales opportunities than ever before.
Hi there. So it is Mike Goldstein with the Crushing It with Kitchen Remodeling podcast again. And again, we are here today with Chef Andrew Forlines, who's going to tell us all about some of the hottest appliances out there today and how they can be used to enhance a kitchen remodel. So with that said, Andrew, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks so much for having me on.
Oh, my pleasure. So, Andrew, I know that you've spoken quite a bit at some industry events, and people have have a great respect for kind of your overall knowledge as a chef and kind of how you take the home chef and turn them into something so much better with great appliances and the right setup and all that. But for anybody who hasn't seen you before, tell me a little bit about yourself. Who are you? How'd you get into all of this?
Yeah, so you're right. I have done quite a bit with the National Kitchen and Bath Association. I presented at KBIS the last 2 years, which is the national convention for kitchen and bath design. My background's in fine dining, so I spent several years in fine dining restaurants and hotels. I was trained at the Broadmoor Hotel here in Colorado. They had their own working apprenticeship, so I went in as a teenager and said, "Hey, I want to learn how to cook." This was a 3-year apprenticeship under, acclaimed chefs from, all over the world, international chefs. It's a 5-star resort, 5-diamond resort. So I worked about 8 years there, working my way up from an apprentice to running one of the kitchens, one of the restaurants there. A lot of fine dining focus, but I've always been passionate about food science and also the technology that enables us to create the delicious cuisine we do. I came up when molecular gastronomy was really becoming a big thing, which is the fine dining, kind of real finesse food. You hear terms like deconstructed cuisine. And so that was really a passion of mine, is learning some of the newer technology that was coming in to the professional space through, we were borrowing lab tech, immersion circulators for sous vide cooking, induction, probe thermometers, all the real fine tools, which has come to the residential space. So I've transitioned into a role as a customer educator, kitchen design educator, and sales staff educator for manufacturer reps, retailers, anyone in the residential space. So there's a huge influx of advanced technology that's come from fine dining, that's come from the commercial space, now in the home space. And I'm kind of filling that education gap. So teaching people how to select it, pick the right things for their lifestyle and their cooking style, but then also how to use it and harness its potential.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, obviously, you've worked with quite a few of the newer or the latest technology and all that, and I think a lot of people with the advent of the Food Network and all all of this education and YouTube and whatnot, they get excited about different cuisines and different things, but they just don't know how to do it, or they just don't know what they need to make it happen. So with that said, if I was looking at a kitchen remodel, and I'm going to turn my kitchen into something new, something that I can maybe try and mimic some of my favorite meals that I've seen. What are some of the hot items right now that I really would want to make sure I incorporate into my remodel?
Sure. So, you're going to think about steam ovens. Combi ovens are really taking off. those are where we've got a convection oven that also has a steam generator, so it can inject steam into the oven cavity, and you can control the humidity level. And there's quite a few of those on the market now. That all of this technology migrates in premium side and then trickles down, and so we're starting to see it all really take hold in the mid-market tier appliance brand. So a lot of people are able to harness this technology regardless of the brand they go with. But steam ovens, I think, are really a fantastic thing to start experimenting with, getting people involved with, getting their hands on, because that's the gold standard in restaurants and fine dining and banquet is a combi oven. We call it combi, which is short for combination. So that's dry heat plus humidity control. So it gives you the most control and precision that you can have with food. So you're controlling the humidity points. You're able to steam poach things, or do straight convection. It's a smaller oven, so it's going to preheat quicker. Some other technologies I would definitely encourage looking at would be induction, which is made the old electric top stoves obsolete in my mind, right? So it's electric powered, which potentially could be from renewable sources, but it's going to be much more powerful than electric than what you think of a coil top or radiant heat. It's going to use a magnetic generator to interact with the metal itself. So induction's fantastic for its heat conversion, its efficiency, its cleanliness, both in the working surface, but then also how it cooks. So you're not creating a lot of nasty chemicals in the house. You're not burning gas. I personally prefer induction indoors for its cleanability, for its better air quality, and then I do a lot of gas cooking outdoors. So our outdoor kitchen market is growing, and we're seeing a lot of high-powered BTU gas burners that can be put outdoors, so you're not having to deal with ventilation or restriction on your heat output. And then we're seeing a lot of integration of Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. So most brands are tinkering with this in some way, and so we're seeing a couple of things. A lot of the selling point is like, oh, you can preheat it on the way home, but that's one thing. What I think of is other room cooking. So if I'm having a guest over, my Bluetooth enabled range or oven is going to be able to show me in my app what temperature it's at, where the food's at, and we're able to cook more confidently and more comfortably with having that information. And another thing that Wi-Fi connected appliance is going to do is do self-diagnostics, but also tell if something ever fails on it or you need service, you're going to get a technician there already knowing what's wrong with it and bringing the right part. So we've got fewer trips to get things back up and running. Yeah. So I think those are the three big things, that are really taking off.
It's interesting you talk about the wireless, because I mean, I know myself, I'm kind of an amateur smoker, and one of the things that I'm doing a lot is I might be making a pulled pork or doing a brisket or something that's going to be a 12, maybe even a 16-hour cook. And I sure as heck don't want to get up at 3 a.m. It's bad. I'm up at 1 a.m. putting the thing on the smoker, and it's so helpful just to be able to turn around. I mean, yes, sometimes the phone's going to beep at you and say, hey, you're reaching X temperature when you want to be sleeping.
Sure.
No doubt that they are a godsend. So with that said, and let's talk about smoke, kind of smoking versus grilling and all that in the kitchen. So with outdoor kitchens, I know one of the things that people really worry about is kind of they're having this brand new kitchen put together. They're having this beautiful, these beautiful walls, or so, the ceiling is set up. It's not drop ceiling outside anymore. It's something kind of nice. Is there a way that they can have, smoke, or either through a smoker or a grill, where it may not damage the kind of the exterior of the kitchen?
Yeah, so you're going to be mindful of what kind of ventilation or air movement you're going to need. Most of them are going to be, there's code, and then there's building spec that are going to say, hey, it's got to be a certain amount away from the walls. It's got to be a certain distance from, and preference too, like from doors and windows and things like that. We're also seeing a lot of, spacers and heat blockers. We're doing a lot of wind blocking. So in Colorado here, we actually have a lot of outdoor kitchens because we can grill quite a bit year round. But then also we've got a lot of wind. So the reps always tell me, hey, in Colorado, we sell more wind blocking units than anywhere else because of that wind. So you got to take all that stuff into account. If you're right directly under an overhang, you are going to want to have some kind of, ventilation system there. But there's ways of getting creative and maybe moving your kitchen a little further out, just so you're not restricted with that ventilation. Because the more BTU, the more gas we're burning, the higher the ventilation is going to need to be. So you do want to be mindful of those, heat output, smoke output, and that kind of stuff. But there are solutions there for sure.
That's great. Now moving kind of back inside,
Hmm.
you had mentioned that you're more of a fan of the induction than the gas stove
Hmm.
and whatnot. Now I know a lot of people when they're putting together especially the luxury kitchen, they're looking at more than one oven.
Yeah.
Do you have a preference? I mean, in terms of, do you keep it all the same, or do you have one of each, or how what's the best way to go about that?
Yeah, so when we're talking a larger kitchen, a premium kitchen design, usually we're going to the cooktop separated from the oven, so not a range. Some people do it if they want that style, but what we're seeing a lot of cooktops and then a dual oven setup. So your cooktop, when you separate it, it's from the oven, so not a range. You're able to have someone cooking on the cooktop and then someone getting in and out of the oven without everyone on top of each other, right? So you're able to kind of space out a little bit there and get more people using the kitchen at once. The cooktop usually then is going to be a 36-inch instead of a 30-inch, so you're getting more space, more burner space. And when you do induction, you can do a lot less ventilation, so you don't need the huge hood because you're not putting out. Most of your ventilation needs are dependent on the BTUs you're burning of gas, and it's actually the carbon monoxide we're trying to get out of the house, not necessarily the smells or the particulates. Yes, you're going to want some ventilation with induction to get rid of those smells and particulates, but you're not by code needing a huge ventilation, CFM, cubic foot per minute, leaving the house. So the induction can really save you on that. But to couple with an induction in cooktop or any kind of cooktop, then we're going to do double oven. So for a long time, a double convection oven was the standard. We saw that
Mhm.
in a lot of builds, right? And then people were using one oven most of the year, and they turned the second oven on for the holidays, right?
Sure.
So yeah, what we're seeing now, we're specking out a lot of specialty ovens. So we'll still get our convection wall oven. That's your large convection hot oven, dry oven. That's going to be the beast of the kitchen. And then above that, we're going to have a specialty oven. And this is where we're seeing the steam ovens get put in. So
Mhm.
steam ovens are usually a little bit smaller than your standard oven. They're European model. So we're seeing more precision and control than necessarily space and power. Um, but personally, as a fine dining chef, I'm always more drawn to precision and control than just the horsepower or the BTU output. Um, so we're seeing smaller ovens above that standard convection oven. So the steam ovens are a great thing for reheating, proofing, steaming. You can bake bread in there. Um, and we can talk more about the steam ovens. But the other specialty oven we're seeing is what we call speed oven or convenience oven, and that's a microwave with convection built in. So those are usually multi-element heat source. So you're traditionally you'll have a convection oven plus a microwave. So the microwave can boost the speed and the cooking, but then the baking is going to help get you that nice browning on the outside. So you're not sacrificing quality of food. Now there's going to be a few different models, and some of them brands are going to have proprietary rights to technology. So some of them will have a broiler, heating, a convection fan. Some will have a baking element. So it's really about mixing those. And one thing to note in those is that microwaves are a little tricky. Um, a standard microwave, when you put, say, 30% power because you don't want to overcook it and dry everything out, most microwaves are going to do 100% power at 30% of the time. So it's cycling on and off, right? So like if I'm melting or softening butter in a microwave and I lower the power, you can still get those melted holes in the middle because it's a lot of energy, but just less frequently. Whereas when you get a real nice speed oven or convection or convenience oven, we're actually seeing a power inverter or regulator that can diminish the power output. So then we're talking about having a microwave that's truly at 30% of power, so we're not overcooking it. We're just boosting a little bit. And that's where the magic happens because you're able to bake or roast and broil food in there and get the quality of food a little bit quicker, but not sacrifice, the taste and the quality of the meal because you've microwaved a lot. It's just a little bit to boost. So you're cooking from the outside in and the inside out. And another nice thing about the convenience ovens is for the families, we see a lot of families with young kids they need a meal quickly. They want convenience and speed. The other thing is you're going to let kids use a convenience oven because it is a microwave based oven. Like I'm setting it, it's going to start and stop. Even though it's using baking elements and broiling elements, it's using some microwave. It's going to act like a microwave. And we're more comfortable with young children, age appropriately using microwaves before the range oven, right? So that's something to consider too.
It's funny as you're talking about this. I'm kind of imagine. I don't know if you saw Back to the Future Part Two, right?
Yeah. Yep.
They stick the little pizza in the oven,
Uh-huh.
and seconds later it comes out all hydrated.
Uh-huh.
That's
Ding.
what I'm
Dinner's
envisioning.
ready.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I have to work against that when I'm in the showroom. So I'm cautioning
Yeah.
people against that a little bit. There is no appliance that's going to do everything perfectly all the time. Put it in, pull it out. We're still in charge. We're still checking our food, making sure it's done. As automated as these ovens are with pre-programmed recipes, we're still in charge and we're still making those decisions. So, um, yeah, we're starting to see that in the marketplace. A lot of ovens, the old style is I tell the oven what to do. I turn it on to the setting. I put the food in and out. I'm in control and I've got to shut it off. Well, now we're seeing a lot of automated features, a lot of automated recipes built into the ovens where the oven tells me what to do. And that's great for someone not as comfortable in the kitchen or not as savvy or have the experience, whereas they're getting a cooking lesson as they cook. So we're starting to get there. We're getting there, but yeah, we're not back to the future level.
Yeah, but it does sound though that the technology now can make the cook, whereas before the cook had to make the technology.
Correct. Yeah, we're seeing a nice infusion there, a nice mix.
So with all the new technology that's coming out, and and obviously, I mean, you have different sizes, you have different pieces. I imagine that you have a lot of opportunity where you or even someone like you, depending on where you are in the country, would have to work with a kitchen designer or even with a remodeler,
Hmm.
to make sure that not only does someone get a great design and functionality, but that everything kind of fits and that it's all planned out appropriately. What's
Yep.
the process that you have at least of when you got to work with a designer and installers and all of that?
Yeah, so it's actually kind of turned around in the last few years. So I even have kitchen design firms that, it used to be a customer would go in and say, "Hey, I'm designing a kitchen," and the designer would say, "Okay, what's your space? Let's mock it up. Now go to the appliance retailer and fit it." But we don't have that standard package. We don't have the range, fridge, dishwasher triangle that used to be the set and go, and the sizes didn't shift much. Now I'm getting a lot of kitchen design firms that are saying, "Did you pick your appliances first, and then come to design the kitchen?" Because what happens is I'm in the showroom. I'm in a lot of these retail showrooms, and other chefs are doing it too. But I get clients in and they say, "Hey, here's our kitchen design. Now let's pick the appliances." And we say, "Well, wait a second. Things have changed in the last 5, 10 years. Your package is going to be larger or differently shaped than it was before." And so once they see all the technology, and I don't do any direct sales, I only do the education piece. And I always say, "Hey, I want to do education based decision making. I want to educate you in what's available, and you make the best choice for your lifestyle and your budget. But at least know that technology is out there." And so it's changing in a faster pace that we need to slow down the process. I do client consultations, selection consultations. I work in a lot of the retail showrooms. And then I also do like a post project celebration dinner. So a kitchen design firm or a builder or remodeler might hire me in to do an education. So say they came in, they talked to me, we selected steam ovens and induction and some of this automated stuff. I'm doing a lot of in-home dinner parties after the project's finished to cook with them, and give them a hands-on tutorial through the product. I do that in the showrooms, pre and post purchase, but then we can also do it with, um, the consumer. We're doing a lot more specking with, you know, it's a selection process and it's changed. So to have that mindset, remodelers can get a good partnership
Yeah.
with a retail showroom. You know, a lot of people think, "Oh, I got to go to the box store," or who sells appliances. It's not a process that people go through enough to be savvy with it, right? So how often is somebody, a consumer, actually remodeling or getting a kitchen? It's 5 to 10 years, that cycle,
Sure.
sometimes even longer if people aren't moving and they're aging in place. So, having getting someone on the inside and as savvy as a remodeler or a kitchen designer is, even the kitchen designers who work in this space, they've got to have a retailer that they trust who they work hand in hand with, who they can send clients to and are comfortable that this retailer, this salesperson is going to have their best interest at heart, and then also know what's available because it changes. Think of the industry, the appliance industry, this way. We're the third largest purchase. There's home, automobile, and then large appliances. It's expensive purchase, so we want to get it right. And we're a funny spot because our premium showrooms or our showrooms are like every car dealership under one roof.
Yep.
So, there's a lot of competing brands, there's a lot of competing messaging, and there's a brand rep for each brand coming in telling the salespeople why their product's the best. So we have to sift through all this information. We're inundated all the time, and then match people up with it. So it's really a process that you need to allot a little more time for. I encourage kitchen designers and remodelers, hey, bring your clients in, come in with them, just to get that relationship going. There's more to see now than ever. And find your, I say premium showroom, but I work with, private, independent showrooms that, every city, every market has them, that are not a box store. They're they're specializing in appliance, and they're doing all the installing themselves, which is important.
Right. And, I also know that when you're looking at, picking out your appliances, it's not just picking out the right technology or the right brand and all that, but it's making sure that it's going to fit in, and especially, where you have maybe, more upscale areas where it may be condos that you're doing, in Manhattan or, in San Francisco and Boston and places like that, and it's a smaller kitchen where, countertop space is at a premium.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot, I think, where the designer and the appliance people, they really need to kind of work together, because it's just, ultimately the customer is not going to be happy if they don't have the design they want, and they're sure as hell not going to be happy if they don't have the stove, the oven, whatever it might be, because that, the kitchen may be the heart of the home, but let's be real, it's where you're going to cook.
Yeah.
So it has to serve that function.
For sure. Yeah, and that's what the retailers, we have spec sheets for everything. The brands have to update us. So it's really getting that partnership going between a remodeler, kitchen designer, with the retailer, with the salesperson, who can help give all those specs. We're all about making sure things fit. Let's get it right. Because if it doesn't fit, that's a problem for everybody. And then, yeah, we're just seeing a lot of opportunity to collaborate in that space. And then talking about counter space, so yeah, the smaller kitchens are really advancing. We do a lot of that here in the ski towns, a lot of ski condos or second homes and those kinds of things. So we're seeing that smaller, and that's been a huge influx. The American brands have had to keep step with the European brands, where European brands are always a little bit ahead on efficiency because the energy costs so much more over there, and a little bit ahead on space because they have less space, right? Um, so we've seen this huge influx of premium brands offering, 24-inch, 15-inch burners, a lot of smaller stuff. A lot of your modern um, minimalist layouts are going to be smaller burners or smaller, different styles, linked together. But you can do a lot more in smaller spaces than ever before. And we're seeing that's a huge growth area. And then you were talking about counter space. Hey, that's another win for induction, because when it's off, you can't turn it on unless there's a magnetic metal pan to interact with. So I treat those as counter space. You can set up a cutting board on one of the burners because it's a flat glass top, which you can't do with gas, right? So if you're using one burner for a quick saute or whatever you're making, you can set up a cutting board right on your induction top. So it does, I can come in and put all my groceries on the induction top and not worry about it accidentally turning on and burning anything.
Yeah, that definitely would be something that I'd be concerned with.
Right.
So, I mean, you're giving up a lot of great information, and I'm sure a lot of people who watch this would love to kind of get more from you. So, if somebody wanted to get in touch with you, Andrew, how would they find you?
Yeah. So since COVID, I've gone independent. I'm not full time with any particular showroom here in Colorado. My own website is chefaf.com, and I do education and content creation around um, appliances, brands, food technology, food science, all that good stuff. I'm certified with NKBA, the National Kitchen and Bath Association, and the American Society of Interior Designers. I'm certified in both of their continuing education programs, so I have my own curriculum. which is an hour program on advanced technology, restaurant technology in the home kitchen. So I do a lot of presentations for chapters of the trade associations. I just did the national webinar for NKBA. So I do that educational piece. So I am available to do virtually or in person chapter meetings, or even just, if a manufacturer wants to bring me in for a lunch and learn, those kinds of things. So I'm always about it, teaching and letting people know more and more. Keep an eye on the website, chefaf.com, because I'm building more and more content and resources. So, I'm working on a appliance selection guide for end users and for designers and remodelers. So that's going to come in the next several months. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. And would someone be able to find you on Facebook or YouTube as well?
Yeah, so I do have a YouTube channel, Chef AF or Chef AF LLC. That's on there. You can link through from my website. The website gets everyone started, it's integrated with my YouTube. I have some social stuff, but I'm not as active there as I probably should be. But we're all pivoting constantly and focusing on what we can. I've been doing a lot of events now locally here, a lot of showroom events since COVID restrictions have lifted a little bit. So in person is starting to happen, a little smaller scale, but definitely keeping me busy.
Well, that's great. Well, I want to thank you for coming on the show today. I mean, I think that the big takeaway here for anybody is make sure you look at induction heavily. You seem to definitely be big on that. And, again, if anybody wants to find out more about this, check out chefaf.com. Talk to Andrew. He seems to be, the absolute source on anything kitchen technology based, whether it's Colorado or I'm sure you'd be happy to talk to people across the country, I'm guessing.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks so much for having me on.
Oh, my pleasure. Well, again, this was Michael Goldstein. This is the Crushing It with Kitchen Remodeling podcast. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in live, and we will check you out soon. All righty. Bye-bye.